Hello, I am Abel Gomez. I'm the Executive Director of Opex Academy, one of the affiliates of Shingo Institute. And today I'm going to talk about specifically the insight number one of the Shingo model. So I have four steps for explaining this. The first one is about the definition of the insight number one. The second part of this small presentation is about the relation of this insight with the Shingo model. Then the third part, I want to give you, or I want to share with you some examples about this, just to make sure you understand or it's clear for you the importance of this insight. And at the end, I'm going to talk a little bit of one slide I have, just to see the differences when we observe the the behaviors and the results. What could be different? Yeah. So that's what I'm going to talk about in this next 15 minutes, more or less. So maybe I have to share some slides with you, which is this one, just for the definition. Here you are. So insight number one, just to read it, ideal results require ideal behavior. That's the insight number one. So the definition of ideal results, very easy. Outcomes that are aligned, that are both excellent and sustainable, and which demonstrate improvement over the time. Ideal behaviors, actions that create outcomes that produce results and are both excellent and sustainable. That's the definition of this. So in the second part, now we have this slide, which is the model, Shingo model. You can see the Shingo model in the right side, and in the left side, the three insights. I'm not going to explain the three insights, but the number one, which is the ideal results require ideal behavior. So you have here the guiding principles, because I want to explain the relation between the Shingo model and the insight number one. We have the guiding principles in the top, in the blue diamond, and then we have the systems, we have the tools, and here we have in the center the culture or the behaviors, and in the left side we have the results. So in somehow in these two diamonds we have the insight number one, which means ideal results require ideal behavior. So if we want to know or we want to have about ideal results, absolutely the only way to get ideal results is if we have ideal behaviors. So we cannot say that we have ideal results without ideal behaviors. So now, if we want to say ideal result, we have to look for the ideal behaviors. So before the result is the behavior. Otherwise, we don't have ideal results. That's the overall explanation. So now, this is very easy. I have some examples about it. I'm going to just stop sharing this slide, and I'm going to share with you some examples. We have different kind of metrics in a company, and this insight is very important for me, and I think for you as a leader in a company, because what the companies are looking for at the end is profit, and profit is very related with results. But most of the times we don't see, as a manager or as a leader, we don't see really the relation between the results and the behaviors, which is the cultural part. So to talk about cultural part in a company is not just a fancy thing. To talk about behaviors is about business. It's about to get or to generate profit. So it's not just a fancy thing. So when we talk about behaviors, we have to take in consideration that we are coaching in somehow the profit of the company. And if we say, okay, the behavior is going to give me profit, it's going to give me results and then profit. So I want it. I want to talk about it. That's why I think it could be very important for you to understand this concept. Because sometimes we can have things like, uh, let's say in case of safety. And this is a real example. I was in a company, and I have been in a lot of companies, but in this specific case, most of the times up to now, the companies are talking about safety like that's the first thing. Yeah. First, safety, and then the other things in the company. That is not necessarily true in the behaviors, but those statements exist in the companies, over the company, inside the company, everywhere in the company. But the most important thing is to see the behaviors. So here's the example. I was in a company and they were celebrating 5 years without accident. So sometimes I ask the people, so is that an ideal result or is just a good result? Most of the times the people says, or the leader says, that's an ideal result. But they are not taking in consideration this insight number one. It's just like the overall thinking. It's 5 years without accident. It's amazing. It's ideal. I would like to be in that way, in that position. But it's not necessarily the result. We are focusing just on the result. 5 years without accident. But I want to see the behaviors that just support that 5 years without accident. So when we were in that celebration with this company, I just came into the company inside and observed some behaviors related to safety. And honestly, the behaviors were not really good. I mean, they were not ideal. So nobody was reporting risk of safety everywhere. So what I was expecting when I say ideal behavior, ideal result, I expect that those 5 years without accident are supported by some ideal behaviors, like people reporting risk of safety everywhere, all the site, all the people, and maybe the middle managers or maybe the engineers, they are working on solving those risks or those problems, deviations of safety that the people is reporting. And of course, the managers or the leaders, maybe they have to give resources, time, I don't know, something to help to solve that situations. That was not happening in that company. So we cannot say that result of 5 years without accident was really sustainable. Was not sustainable. Maybe they get it. Absolutely, they were effective because they got 5 years without accident. But that was not maybe efficient and absolutely was not sustainable. Those three words are very important. We need to know what is the difference between effective, efficient, and sustainable. So when we talk about ideal results require ideal behaviors, we are going to touch the three one. Yeah, because we talk about we get the result effective, we get it in the right way, I mean efficiently with less resources, and then sustainable through the culture. The behaviors of the people are going to help us to sustain that result. And that those behaviors, the ideal behaviors, are going to help us to have let's say that way, the chart of the results of safety stable. We're going to make it stable. Because if we have in a chart of safety, like a risk of accidents or whatever the metric we have in a company, and we have peaks like this, absolutely that is not stable. And if that is not stable, it's because we have not developed the culture. We don't have the ideal behaviors. So we can say in this case, in the specific case like safety, that is not really sustainable. And I have another example. Let's talk about, for example, quality or delivery, which is very, very, very linked in a company. This example was in a medical company. I have been working with over 35 sites of medical industry. And in this case, they were like having the delivery metric 100%. And when we were reviewing now, that was like an ideal result, but was not, because ideal result require ideal behaviors. So in this case, that was a good result because it was 100% delivery on time. Perfect. Looks good. We are effective. Now, here's the point. When we start observing the behaviors, there were a lot of people getting signatures for deviations of the product, of the process, and some other things. So those behaviors don't make sustainable the result of 100% delivery, according to our insight number one. So the opportunity is here. So we can say that result is not really sustainable. That result is not ideal. So now, what is the point here? We have an opportunity for finding waste, and we can eliminate it. If we just focus on the result of 100% delivery on time, we're missing the opportunity to find that mistake, that waste. So, and everything we have in a company, whatever we see in a company, is cost. It costs to the company, and the company has to pay. So we're talking about profit. Profit, costs have a very strong relation. So we need to look for those costs, those wastes that we are not really taking in consideration right now because we're just focused on the result, just in the 100% deliver on time. So, and here's another point, another example, and I'm going to jump into another slide I want to show you. I was in a mining industry a couple of years ago, and I was in the cooling towers department, let's say that way. And I was around there, and I was asking to the person, "Are you alone in this area?" I said, "Yeah." It was another person with me, but he just left, and the company didn't replace that position. Okay, good, perfect. So, and I was observing, and there were some water, big water tanks around in the floor. I mean, in the subterranean and underground. Sorry, and then uh, I asked him, "So you are working here around? This is about safety." And he said, "Yes, I'm taking some data from the water and some registers and so on." And I asked him, "But you are not using the life jacket. You have to use it, right?" "Yeah, but..." So that behavior, that's risky. And then I asked him, "Do you know swim? Do you know how to swim?" And he said, "No, I don't know how to swim." So in this case, that behavior is something we have to look for. That is going to be the sustainability or no sustainability of the result of safety. So that's the opportunity we have. When we have things like this and we start observing the behaviors, we are going to find a lot of things before the problem happened. You know, when if it's something bad happened in this company, in this behavior, in this situation, you know what is going to happen. Now, after a very bad thing, a very bad situation, the company is going now to put a team together to analyze what happened. But we know what's happening right now. We are not focusing in the behaviors, just in the results. So that's why it's so important to make a link between results and behaviors. So now I'm going to share another slide just for the last couple of minutes. I really like this slide a lot. And I want to share this with my students in different companies. Sorry about it. Here it is. You can see here very quickly two lines, the left line and the right line. In the left side, you can see here KPIs, which is key behavior indicator, and in the right side, key performance indicator. I call the left side the operational or enterprise excellence way of thinking. And I call the right side the current state in the companies. That's how the companies normally they think. So in the left side, we can see different words. It says, when we talk about behaviors, we can talk about prevention. It is preventive. I, I mentioned some examples, but you are looking for behaviors before the defect happened. When we're talking about results, if you don't get the result, the problem already happened. Now you have to correct, not prevent. You have to correct. So that is not good. And what I say is that normally the prevention is too much less expensive than the correction. Corrective actions should be like 10 times the preventive actions. That's what I say, that what I have seen in my life, in my professional life. So in the other hand, I have another word here, which is error and defect. In the left side is the error. I can see the error before it becomes a defect. And then in the right side, I see the defect already. Too late. So I have to correct. In the error, I can prevent. I have that opportunity. Now, in the left side, we have the root cause. We can find the root cause where the system is broken before a defect happened. When the defect happened in the right side, it's just countermeasures because the level of urgency when you have a defect is different than when you have the left side, which is the prevention. You have time for analysis, for making a lot of ideas, how to correct something before it happened. I want to say before to prevent something is going to happen. In the left side, you involve the people that is making the processes, the activities, all your people, the associates, the middle managers, the leaders. In the right side, typically, you don't involve the people that is making the job. You are just taking decisions from the data, not from the reality of the company. So here you are some examples of how, I mean, some ideas or some concepts to help you to understand the insight number one, which is ideal results require ideal behavior. I hope it helps you to understand a little bit more some of the situations you have in your company and how to focus your style of management or your style of leadership in order to go to the prevention, to the behaviors, to the key behaviors indicators, to the error instead of the right side, which is the correction, the defect, and the performance. The performance is not all. It looks like, but it's not. We have to focus in the behaviors. Yeah. So that's my main message for you. So thank you. Enjoy it.